Thank you for staying with us. It's still VOP this morning on Voice of the People television. Moving into the conversation proper, the Nigerian military announced that individuals flying Russia flags during nationwide protests are committing treason and will be prosecuted. They are investigating and will take serious action against those instigating these actions. The Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa emphasized this after a National Security Council meeting chaired by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Remember that some protesters in Kano and Kaduna State were seen waving Russian flags and chanting against the government. And this is not just the first time. Some time ago, we have some Ariwa youth also burning the Nigerian flag to show how aggrieved they are over the issue of hunger. And this has raised concern among former envoys and ex-military officers. Russia has been linked to unconstitutional changes in several West African countries. The defense chief noted that many of these waving flags are children and they are being influenced by sponsors. And serious actions will be taken against those as sponsors. As the case may be, the president has also directed strict measures to maintain peace and prevent the display of foreign flags in Nigeria. Although Russia has come out to disassociate itself or themselves from the flags being used in Nigeria, they said they didn't call for any of that to happen, and they are not even sponsoring the people who are waving their flag. But we also know that somewhere in Mali yesterday, the Malians woke up to say they don't want Ukraine again over the fact that they have been causing one or two happening. Is it that Africans now are beginning to run to the east for economic help and all that? I don't know, but we have joining us to make sense of this one. This morning we have Mr. Dixon Omodiale Osaje, the security expert. And also we have Chukuma Okoro, a journalist and a public affairs analyst, to help x-ray the issue happening in Nigeria as regards the protests and protesters waving Russia flag. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Phil.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, good to have you, Mr. Dixon. How are you doing this morning?
We're fine. If you're fine, we're fine.
We are. We'll continue to be.
Let me quickly come to you on this one now. With the Russian flag being flown in Nigeria, shouldn't we be worried? Dixon, please.
Yeah. Why should I be worried? Sometimes we need to understand that some. We saw the video moving around, and we could see that even the federal government of Nigeria they're in a state of fear. Russia is a threat to democracy worldwide. We all understand that. We've seen how they've tactically maneuvered some countries, to be on their side, because they fully understand that the ongoing war between them and Ukraine is putting them in a negative limelight, and also one or two African countries have, tried to, take a departure from democracy, and most times, like one or two African countries, like Niger, for example, we've seen how some of those people were waving Russian flags, calling for Russia interference, So what I can say in the area of the flag being flown in Kano Municipal yesterday, I think these guys, perhaps, because the guy I saw on camera, I don't think he knows the color of Russian flags. So I think someone must have, instigated him or instigated them, and also perhaps financially motivated them to, print those, produce those flags so that they can use it and carry out rally within the Kano city or Kano town and put the Nigerian government in a state of fear. Security is systematic. Yeah. The first thing you do is you want to put the government in a state of fear is to cause for us. When you put someone in a state of fear, security has been defeated. So I was surprised the three service chief, went to see the president yesterday with speed and momentum.
Yes, I was going to come to that, Mr. Dixon. Sorry to cut your line of thought. I was going to come to that as well. Yesterday there was an emergency meeting with the president and the service chiefs, and what came out of that meeting is yet to be known to the public. But the defense chief is coming out clearly to state that that particular act is treasonable. Now, by the law, I haven't seen anything close to that. But then maybe as a security expert, maybe you help us make sense of it. Is that anything close to a treasonable felony in any way?
Yeah. You're correct. Fantastic.
All right, we're having issues with the quality of the audio. We probably will move away, go to Chukuma now, and then come back in hope that the audio would have been fixed. It's so unfortunate. We would have loved to hear your response to that question asked by David. But let's go over to Chukuma Okoro now, and then we'll come back to you, and you probably the audio would be better, and then we'll have you respond to that question. Well, let's talk to Chukuma Okoro very quickly.
All right, Mr. Chukuma, we have been getting waves of protests happening across Africa. First from Kenya to Uganda, now here in Nigeria. It actually sprung up also sometime in Ghana, but it was suppressed. What do you actually think is happening as regards Africa as a continent?
Yeah, Fina, it's very clear that African youths have taken the challenge, to contest bad governance, to oppose autocracy, to oppose misgovernance in all ramifications. It's what I would call a new wave. It's a new wave of democracy, if you don't mind, new wave of democracy, because globally there is this attack on democracies, and there's a resurgence of rogue states. Resurgence of rogue states that is tied appropriately to the resurgence of Russia. Vladimir Putin is using interference, is using global tactics to ensure, that he props up Russia as a global power away from the away from the USSR. So in all of this, I think the African youths are more inclined to take leadership into their hands. That is why we saw what happened in Kenya, and it's more like trying to have a repeat. In Nigeria, the Ghana's protest didn't quite take off, but the government, I think, was more responsive in trying to address the demands of the youth. Look at what is going on in Bangladesh. Look at the surge. So in the midst of all this, I'm a bit worried that that we don't have to be very dismissive of those that wave the Russian flag, in Kano and Kaduna. Like Dixon did say, that the young man or the young people that were waving the flags do not even understand the color or the meaning of what they were holding, which is apparently the Russian flag. I think those people will not be the mastermind. They will not be the mastermind. There are apparently people that are behind them supporting that move. And I do agree with him that these people wanted to, even if they don't have the backing of Russia, they are able to send a wrong signal to the federal government to sit up. But I also will not say that they don't have...
Why tilt to the east? Why tilt to the Russia? We found out that most of the African nations, especially those who have been colonized by the West, are moving away. Why move to Russia at this point in time?
Fina, it's a very large conversation because there is a descent of the Eastern civilization. Democracy, the West is apparently in decline. Starting from the 1990s and all of that. In fact, the West started declining even long before the fall of communism. And there's a book, sorry, David.
Go ahead.
Let me put my thoughts through.
Go ahead, please.
Because the decline is apparent. If you look at countries that are apparently doing very well, economically, they are all from the Southeast Asian countries, away from the West. The West is involved in this kind of pervasive, what this man calls permissive cornucopia. Everything, the West has become junk. They throw out everything. America is just interested in pushing out democracy. America, in some places, like in the Middle East, support instability if it suits their interest. So the West is apparently in the decline, and most countries are looking towards the East, like Russia and China. So I will not be very dismissive of what happened. Look at what Russia did in 2014, 2016. interfering in American elections, what they did in the UK. You know, there's a serious crackdown. They are trying to rewrite the world order. That is what what Russia is trying to do. And Nigeria happens to be a very important country in Africa.
Okay.
Look at what is happening in the Sahel. We have Mali.
Yeah.
We have Guinea. We have Niger. We have Chad. All of them, okay, 3 of them bordering Nigeria. And these are countries that are looking towards the east. And look at what China is doing too. And look at the alliance between Russia and China. So clearly, it's a signal that, look, the West is in decline and Vladimir Putin is clearly resurgent.
All right.
He wants to affect the supremacy or otherwise of the Russian hegemony.
Thank you so much for that.
Okay, now let's take a little video. Let's take that video of protesters chanting, calling for Russia's interference. In fact, there was another video I saw on social media that a protester was saying Tinubu must go. Whether he reverses fuel price or not, he must go. So one starts to wonder, what exactly is going on? Is this the same hunger strike, or is there something else brewing over there in the northern part of Nigeria? But let's take this video when we come back.
Well, Mr. Dixon, you've seen this video. Going back to the question I asked earlier about
first, before you ask, Fina, were you able to get
some of
the
them
words
actually,
they were saying?
They were of the opinion that we need help.
That's what they were saying.
We need help.
We need help.
Russia, we need help.
Russia,
yeah,
we need
Nigeria,
help.
we need help. Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's what they were saying in Hausa.
All right.
Okay.
So,
Fina
Mr.
is
Dixon.
our in-house interpreter.
no, I'm not. I'm not.
Go ahead.
Okay. So at this point, would you help us make sense of all of this? Because from all indication, the presidency did meet with the service chiefs yesterday. And like I did ask earlier, maybe help us make sense of it from the military point of view, what a treasonable felony can and should be or is, so that Nigerians also can understand this as well. But then again, I also want to put it back again to the fact that just recently, the DSS did mention that they've uncovered the sponsors of these protests. And some would wonder, if such uncovering is done, how much more insecurity can we have in the north? And there is no identification of who is sponsoring these people. But then, help us make sense of this particular one, the treasonable felony from the defense chief.
Well, I don't think I'll be able to make sense from this because these guys I'm seeing right now from your station, this video I'm watching, I think it's a disturbing one. And I strongly believe that these guys were sponsored, to roll out these flags in order to, send some wrong signal to the Nigerian government or put the Nigerian government in a state of fear, which I believe they tactically have achieved because when the service chief visited the president yesterday, all what came out from their mouth.
All right. I think we have a little network glitch over that, but we would like to have you so that you can tell us what you make of that particular question.
Worry about the end bad governance.
Right.
And they solely dwell on the protesters flying this flag. But I in practical measures in place.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Should I go ahead?
Yes, go
please,
ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, I thought. Okay, all right. So for me, I think these guys, the DSS have already gathered one or two information in respect to this. Russia have come out to say that they are not involved or they have nothing to do about it. And I agree with Russia because I've seen sometimes, most especially some terrorists, when they go on strike, they want to pay allegiance to one or two international terrorist group. I think these guys are just trying to form an allegiance with the Russia Federation or somehow, let
I guess the network, it's not really smelling on us this morning. All right, I will actually like you to, if you can hear me, we'll actually get back to you. But let's move down to Mr. Chukuma Okoro. Okay, Mr. Dixon. Can you hear me? All right, can you unmute yourself? All right, please go on. The network actually is not smiling, but anyway, you can go on.
All right, maybe the network is also not smiling to those protesters. So I think the Nigerian government needs to sit up now, because what the government should be looking at is that they need to start looking at the causative factors. What led to this end bad governance protest? What are the demands of the people? And also try to understand that they are there to lead us aright, and they're not there to brutalize the Nigerian state. Because I will tell you for free, for so long, the Nigerian government has been brutalized, and the Nigerian people have been brutalized. And it's so sad that this is coming from our leaders, because basically we're suffering from leadership brutality, religious brutality, police brutality, ethnocentric brutality, and unemployment brutality as well. So if we must get this right, my colleague in the studio, Chukma, rightly said, most people, once funds get into their hand, they try to, self-aggrandize themselves. They try to,
All right, Mr. Dixon, we'll get back to you. Mr. Chukuma Okoro, when we look at some of the flags that those people protesting actually have, I'm talking about the Russian flag, some of them have a write-up on it saying we are Nigerians and we need help, even when some people are shouting enough is enough. Now, bring it back to issue of insecurity in Nigeria, where we have this bedeviling a particular, like let's say all parts of Nigeria now. I wouldn't want to shrink it to a particular point, and we also have the people who have caused serious harm, who have caused loss of property and life to Nigerians, being reintegrated back into the society in the name of repentant Boko Haram terrorists. We'll bring it back again on the point whereby we have the likes of Bodijo, who was being, arrested by the federal government and also taken to court for sponsoring buying of arms for the Fulani herders. He has a case against him. He was denied bail on Tuesday and was discharged and acquitted on Thursday. And we have so many other people who are already aggrieved with the way things are being done in the country that have led to so many people or groups calling for cessation. Do you actually think that this could be the reason why we have some parts or some of those people who are protesting now chiming and pulling their own strength to have from the East?
Fina, what they say in intelligence is that the sum total of intelligence is always in excess of, if you put the sum total of intelligence together, it's always in excess. The sum total is always beyond. What that means is that in intelligence, you can never actually get it all, because some of them are speculative, some of them are concrete, because they are received under the cover, under the table. So there's a little bit of a negligent level of accuracy when you talk about intelligence. But again, if I was a policymaker and I see Northerners in a place like Kaduna and Kano waving the Russian flag, I think I would be a little bit more concerned, because ordinarily I'll ask myself, why are they not waving the Iranian flag? Yes. Why are they not waving the Iranian flag? And what Russia did, it's a diplomatic thing. You don't expect them to come and accept, oh, we are planning interference, or we want to interfere in Nigerian politics. No diplomat will tell you that. No foreign mission will tell you that. They will never accept. Even when they poisoned Alexis Navalny, that he was rushed to UK, did Russia admit? Russia never admitted. When they interfered in the US elections against Hillary Clinton, did Russia agree? Russia never agreed. That's intelligence. But I'm also more concerned and worried that we don't have intelligence estimates. If we have intelligence estimates, these are documents, gathered by the NIA, which is more like the CIA. They are involved in the external intelligence and counterintelligence. NIA should have known before now if there was going to be an infiltration, external intervention in this protest, as we have seen now. It is not very clear, but it's beginning to show that, look, it's beyond waving of flags. But I'm happy again that the DSS was able to crack it in good time.
Now, when you say NIA should have known, the fact of the matter is that they put that information out there. They did say that the intelligence they had was that certain individuals would hijack the protest, and some of these are politically motivated. They did say that. Now let's look at a few things. A few things that they have revealed so far. The tailors, one of them that has been sewing the Russian flag, has been arrested. We also saw in the papers from the Daily Trust, actually, where protesters they climbed on top of an armored tank. And then in another video I saw on social media, protesters were calling for a military takeover in Nigeria, calling on the military to take over. And Kano State seems to be a hotbed. Now, we talked about this yesterday, if you recall. We talked about this yesterday, about events in Kano and how in Borno State as well, protesters are, the governor did attest to the fact that the protesters are 14 years and under, young people are coming out. Now, Dixon did point to the fact that some of these people may not be aware of what they are doing. And the truth of the matter is they may be sponsored. The president has had an emergency meeting when he was supposed to be having the Federal Executive Council meeting. That one was pushed aside for an emergency meeting. But at this time now, what do you think the government should be doing? What steps should the federal government be taking, seeing that there seems to be, some sort of uprising in the northern part of Nigeria?
Good.
Chukuma, please.
Moses, before I come to what the federal government should do, I want to address the issue of the NIA or the DSS telling us that some people, they are aware that some people want to hijack the protest. It was a nebulous statement. It was a general statement. They didn't know about this particular track of it. Because if they had known, they would have ensured that the Russian flag did not see the light of the day. So it was a general statement, that politicians make, that security agencies make to dissuade people. If peradventure you are planning anything sinister, when you hear such statements, when they push out such statements, they could cut you in action. So I still say that DSS has done a good job by tracing the tailor, and from the tailor, people that sponsored him to sew the clothes. But again, I insist that the NIA didn't know. If they knew, they would have nipped it in the bud. That said, it's a general. See, this thing is very simple. It is very, very simple. There is hunger in the land. The discontent is very high. People are hungry. There is insecurity in the land. Moses, for how long are we going to talk about these things? What the government needs to do is to respond fundamentally, maximally. When I say maximally, I mean while they are planning short-term gaps to close this problem, like distributing palliatives, distributing grains and bags of rice. In the long term, which is the maximalist approach, get to the root cause. What is the root cause of the hunger in the land? Hunger alone. The root cause is that, one, the economy is not productive, coupled with the fact that farmers are not going to farm again. The inflation we have is 80% food inflation. And a hungry man is an angry man. There's an uprising and it is gathering. What the government needs to do is address it. And how do you address it? The federal government, the president has come out to say, no going back on removal of oil subsidy, on fuel subsidy. So where do we go from here?
All right.
The price of fuel is still on the increase. So apparently the federal government is more interested in protecting the regime because we have not seen them reel out the foundational measures, the policy initiatives that in the long term, in the next 2 or 3 years, in the next 1, 2, or 3 years that is going to rejig the economy, make it rebound, and become, put income in the hands of Nigerians.
It's quite interesting.
There is still, David, above all, there is still high cost of governance. The government has not cut down on the cost of governance. They are still living profligately. National Assembly, the ministers, everybody. And they're asking us to sacrifice. That is why Nigerians are angry.
We'll take some of those videos now of Nigerians lamenting. But I am particularly troubled at the fact that in Kano State, the Kano State judiciary have come out to complain that some of the weapons, exhibits that were stored at the courthouse, guns and other things, were looted. And one starts to wonder, has this gone from hunger strike to something else? Because if you're hungry, would you be looting guns? Would you be looting weapons that were kept as exhibits? Or would you be looting warehouses where food is, where food items can be located? It's becoming a little bit dicey. But let's listen to these responses from Nigerians that went out to protest, and then we'll come back. And I do hope that when we do come back, the network will allow Dixon Omodiale to tell us a few things in this regard. Let's take the videos. We'll be back in a bit.
Only come on the air to say trash. As far as I'm concerned, Tinubu has not said anything tangible that will make us, the Protestants, withdraw from our protest.
So what are your agitations at the moment?
Okay, we expect him to at least bring down the fuel price. The standard of living, he should bring it down as usual so that the poor masses can also live life to their taste. Right now, I could tell you that even the rich masses in this country, they still have 1 or 2 ways that the economy has affected them. As you can see, I have my pot here, which symbolizes hunger. Hunger won't kill me, okay? Look my certificate, do look my this thing well, not be fake. I'm a graduate of Imo State University, look at it very well. This is when I served. I just passed the last 2 months and I've been looking for job back to back. There is nothing to show for it, sir. It is painful. Let Tinubu do the needful. Let him create good platform for good job opportunities so that the criminal acts in this country can reduce.
So he wants the government to create good job opportunities so that the good opportunities.
Those are the reactions of protesters, and we're really we have to bring this to you so that you understand where.
Well, that is one protester who's protesting hunger.
I mean,
but
quite a number.
What we're talking about in the north is it hunger now?
Now, the defense chief also did mention that if this kind of protest continues, it might lead to coup. Mr. Dixon, at this point, I want you to react to this as well. Do you share this sentiment as well? But also just opposing it with the fact that the presidency did call the service chiefs yesterday, and of course to talk security matters on the ongoing protest. Whereas Nigerians and the ones protesting are saying that all of the demands that they asked for is not being talked about. How do we juxtapose this with the reality of what the Nigerian people faces at this time?
Well, for me, I think you also know the answer to your questions. I love journalists. When we cry, you guys pretend not to cry. We're all crying, and everybody is going through the pain here in Nigeria. And I tell you the truth that things are not going right in the Nigerian territorial space. Like my brother in the studio rightly said, your co-anchor, he was talking about, is it hunger that might have led to the protests in Kano State? You see, hunger can lead to anything. It can lead to war. And that is the truth. Hunger can lead to a conflict, can lead to, disruption of governance. So, we need to understand one thing, when we talk about leadership brutality, Nigeria is a clear example of leadership brutality. And our people have been brutalized for so long. Look at the hike in purchasing fuel. Look at the price hike in purchasing food produce from the market.
Okay. Well, I do believe there was an interruption there. Well, if we can continue the conversation, we'll be glad. Mr. Dixon? If you're still with us.
Apologies. I think there was an interruption, and I don't know how this come about because
Go ahead.
a call came in. I apologize for that. So now let us understand one thing: that we have a country to build, and this country is Nigeria, and it starts from the leaders. If we have good leadership in this country, I don't think we'll be where we are today. I was born and bred in the north, and I understand the plight of these northern people. I just came back from the north some few weeks ago, and poverty is the order of the day. Hunger is the order of the day. See a lot of children on the street out there, crying for help, looking for food to eat. And I've said this on many fora. A hungry child on the street is a potential threat to the government. When you look at these protesters, most especially those guys carrying the Russian flag, I tell you, none of them, you see any of these are political leaders' children, they are not there. Most of these elite children, they are not there. These are children of the poor, children of mostly of the poor, if I may use the word correctly, and children that are out of school, or some of them are still, struggling to survive. So it is in the hands of the government to restore this country, Nigeria. And it's very simple, because if we want to start getting things right, the government should start looking at rolling out economic policy, rolling out social policies, unemployment policies, and a lot of policies that will address the situation of this country. When England went to war, after the End War II, in 1945 or so, England was in a total state of mess. Nothing was working. But what happened? The United Kingdom appointed just one man and his team, Sir Beveridge, to bring out policies, to roll out policies that will restore England, because England was one of the worst hits during the World War, both economically, they lost a lot of soldiers and people during the World War II. So Sir Beveridge came out with a policy, and this policy has been the policy to date. This policy has been is being used in the United Kingdom, and things are going on well in the United Kingdom. So we need people on board to come and roll out policies for the government, people that are well informed, people that are well equipped, people that are well educated, that will roll out policies that will address the need of the people, because the whole essence of governance is to take care of the people, to take our country to glorious life. For me, I think we will get there.
I'm gonna sit there with you, Mr. Dixon. I like the fact that you did mention that we need men on board who will roll out policies, and policies that will translate to Nigerians having it better. But then, I still want to stay with what the defense chief did mention yesterday. He did mention that protesters have crossed the line. And interestingly, that is a major statement when it comes to defending the territory of Nigeria. But then, the question would be, is the meeting with the presidency tilted to that direction, that the military should handle these protesters in their way? Because let's also put this out there. This morning, while some of our colleagues were coming into the studio, they found out that somewhere in Lagos, several of the military personnel roaming around the streets of Lagos. Is this another directive to just clamp down on the protesters fully and not allow them have their civil right, which is the act of protesting?
Yes, correct. Excellent question. I think the government are making a big mistake. Sometimes when you stop a child to cry, this child will cry something next time. For example, my daughter was crying some few days ago, and she was disturbing me. Just like what is happening now, the protest is disturbing the government. So what the government is trying to do, like what I did to my daughter, was to close up her mouth. And immediately I brought out my mouth, she busted out, cry more. So what the government is doing is that they are shutting down the mouth of Nigerians, and Nigerians will cry again next time. When you stop someone from crying today, or you stop Nigerians from crying out their grievances or their pain, they will definitely cry next time, and you are not solving the problem. Now we're talking about solution-based. Now, what should the government be doing? Pinpoint what these guys needed. What is the needs of this end bad governance? Address those needs. And the needs of this end bad governance were not addressed by the president. I was happy the night when I heard Chief Agili broadcast that the president will be addressing us, and I was thinking he will come out and say, hey, fuel price is going to go down, XYZ food produce is going to go down. But he was throwing out threats that the protests have to stop and everything. And I've truly realized or observed that sometimes when protests is about going on in this country, our leaders try to be systematic and project some form of tactical disposition to ensure that protest does not go on. Listen, protest is an avenue for us to good protest, quote unquote. It's a feedback. It's an avenue to give the government feedback. And government must see good protest as an avenue of feedback so that they will be able to address the need of the people. But if you stop them from crying, they will cry next time. So let them cry their cry peacefully.
All right, then.
All right, then. I would actually like to understand from your end as a security expert, where do you see this whole thing going to? People are calling for a country in the East to, come help them. Some other people are calling for military to take over. And then some other people are also seeking a way to secede, to leave Nigeria. Now, where do you see us get to as a nation?
It's putting us in a negative light in the international community. Fantastic question, my sister. You see, in 1999, when I was still in the military, in 1999, when we handed over powers to democracy, I think during the parade, I was one of those soldiers in the parade ground. Then I was in Cross River State. Do you know, immediately we get to the town in Cross River State, a place called Ecom Local Government. The civilians were yelling at us, go back to the barrack, go back to the barrack. They were harassing us, embarrassing us, go back to the barrack. So when I saw them calling for military takeover, I'm in shock that you once said we should go back to the barrack. And the truth is, democracy still remains the best system of government. If only our leaders are ready to be democratic. Because what I see going on in the auspice of Nigeria is that we don't have Democrats. We don't have people that are ready to lead this country. We only have people for themselves, their family, and their relatives. Nepotism is the order of the day, when Singapore filed a divorce in 1957 from Malaysia, Malaysia had thought that Singapore would not succeed. But what happened? The Singapore you see today, they build in on MPH acronym, meritocracy, pragmatism, and honesty. And what they said is that this is our country. We need to build this country. Whoever we are bringing into government must have the merits to be there. It must be pragmatic and must be honest. So meritocracy, pragmatism, and honesty brought Singapore to what Singapore is today. So we need leaders that have the merits to be there. We need leaders that are pragmatic, and we need honest leaders. If only we don't want all this nonsense to repeat itself again.
All right, then. This will be
so far, so that you'll be able to resolve the issues.
All right, big thank you, Dixon Osage. This will be a good place to drop anchor. As we delve into another conversation, I'm going to pick you from the divorce part.
Yeah, I actually want to do that as well.
a certain group of people have come to say, Igbo must go. He should be divorced from being in Lagos. A certain X handle, Twitter handle, I'm struggling with X and Twitter. I think it's for better understanding, Twitter handle. A certain Twitter handle, Lagospedia, made a tweet that hashtag Igbos must go, and that one is supposed to commence later this month. Oh well, we're going into that conversation, but we must say a very big thank you to you for staying with us on this one. I do understand that you might have to leave us at this time, but it would have been glad to have you stay for the next conversation. Well, thank you very much for joining this conversation. And we must say a very big thank you also to Chukwuma Okoro, and would like you to stay with us as we go into the other conversation. So IPOB asked for referendum, says Igbo ready to exit Nigeria. That's the conversation we'll be having in a bit. And when we do come back, we'll be joined by Olufemi Lawson and, of course, Chukwuma Okoro.